Some nights are difficult for me. Listen, I want to talk about that hunger that rises up in the old house. I want to talk about the loneliness that wakes at 2 a.m. and stares at the deserted bed. I want to talk about the sadness of old clothes in the flea market and tongues lost in tiny children. I want to talk about the woman who said she would meet me at the theater and the part of me that still waits for her. I want to talk about how bullies hurt the sweetheart, how the heart walks in sleep, how the heart hides in clocks, hides in the hands of strangers. I want to talk about this, the wedding dress that poetry wore one morning in the apple trees so long ago, when she came to me, innocent, distressed, and lovely. What is this place I have come to? This river with no water still flowing? The back road to wisdom? This old mesa where I feel driven to write to everyone who lives? Where this latest hallucination of the heart starts to hope again? What is this place that I have come to? This land of crows and golden eagles, coyotes, and the night wind weeping. This place where every word ever spoken in the universe speaks now. Where these golden skies walk to heaven. What is this place I have come to? This life with little focus. These nights when wit flies into a storm without a co-pilot and words quicken in the thick mind. And at the slightest touch, gold falls out of the rabbit brush. What is this place I have come to, where caught in God's own curfew, I wander through this late house, realizing longing is the hardest thing to give up. These years of longing to protect the diamond wing of the gossamer child. Some days I wake up walking over the desert and see pieces of me everywhere, in the knuckles of ancient trees, in that tumbleweed of soul in the spring wind, in the tiny flowers rooted in the heart rock. Why, even a piece of sleep that I thought was mine flew into the blue wing of day out of a dead limb. Ah, this gathering and gathering of self, this brown joy in the eyes of a beloved dog, this dust that dances into blossom, this notebook that is the earth, this endless love that when we least expect it, knocks on our door again and says, "Let the day begin." Insisting with the only life that I know on some peace at the end of solitude and desperation, I have arrived here at this desert place where a magic that few would want brings light around me, where grace comes toward me one step at a time. After years of listening, a stone comes to life, and the candle in the tiny grass, and the night, like a wife, comes home. A feather in this touch of wind flies back to the lost bird, and everything I do not know begins to sway at once. I love these nights of irresistible somnambulance, these nights when the wind blows its lullaby to each lonely wing. I love this old body I walk in. I love this dependable sage, this desert scent I sink into when I rest. And suddenly I know I will no longer apologize for loving you. I whispered your name, and the wind whinnied back. All the horses of heaven are in the pasture tonight. When I first came into this desert space, this heart was tired. These feet had forgotten how to be feet. Deep in this body were bullets festering, and the desire to love someone for 1,000 years was almost dead. A healing sometimes happens when we least expect it. In the honey that falls out of the sun into flowers, in the measureless bed where one remembers those he loves, in the tiny shovels that sift through the dark for secret things. Too old to become a hero, I walk through sage and watch the stars dissolve the corners of the night. I put one ear up against a hive of bees to hear the sound of the old poem the universe is always singing. Tonight, love, let us rub our aging souls against each other to make fire. Let us listen to the words that wander through our bodies. Let us serenade the longings of our souls with sacred sounds and silence. It is true that I lack focus, but I live each day with the insane sweetness of honey, and I live each night with stars moving over the bed. It is true that I have little money, but I know the fragrance of sage after a rain, and the wild heart of the desert wind. Several lives ago, I was born in Ohio, where I slept with the window always open, with the moon curled in these arms like a sacred breast. And always in the houses that surround me, I listened to some tiny thing that, like a fish in winter, survived. Here, in the canyons of western Colorado, many things once important to me have departed. But I no longer stand dying of thirst on lonely balconies. I no longer suffer through bullies whose blood drowns hope and love. I find goodness now in every shape of day. It is true that I remain clumsy, but I have become a master at following whims. And that has brought me to those I love. Our lives joined by this moon we dance around, our hands stretching into the dark like long loaves of bread, sharing the wheat of the human heart. What brilliant dementia drives me to these manic poems, to these configurations of night, these concatenations of lost light, these tiny wings, these words that tumble like lonely sailors in San Francisco into some sweet harbor hardly remembered in the dim of day. Decades now of uncollected poems pile in this dark memory. Papers I pack without thinking whenever I move. The women I have almost forgotten, like sly mermaids just out of reach in a slippery sleep. Like ancient villages where it is rumored words walk with their hands open, like the moon riding high on a razorback hog through the lazy, hazy autumns of heaven. These awkward efforts to be alive, to wade through our own debris towards shore, towards other people, we take too seriously. A ship's wreck and we survive. Our hearts, stolen by pirates, are not ransomed. But we cannot weep forever for these lost things. The sea, not the ship, is our mother. The waves are never clumsy. They know when to break, to give up, to go back. The alphabet of longing. A. Always the hidden sea, deep in the desert, the breath rushing towards shore, receding, the blue solitude itself a siren song. On this simple desert sand, I take a stand. Look then, although no riddle answered, this gate marked me is no mistake. B. Bees in the desert know the secret sources of honey, know how a sweet rain gathers into the center of flowers, how the moon sits at the right hand of God, how God sits at the right hand of the moon. Bees know this ancient show of weather. But I, conundrum to the end, can only hear with human ear the of bees, can only see, not be, the ancient light, even before time beginning its long journey to prick me now through this dark heaven. C. Can I, marooned in canyons, come to terms with anything? What peace there is here when I stop looking. Here in this land of sage and sand and little water. Those who thought their need for power was strength, who thought that the attendant lies by which they lived were virtue, who think that tenderness is something to be devoured, are not the victors now. Indeed, are nothing now. The tiny bee, the pollen on the rabbit brush, the twisted juniper I rest against, mean more to me than all of the lubriosity of X, this lips of sensuous Y, the tidal sex of Z. D. Divine, the star inside the hand. Each part of the body was once part of a star, a piece of primal light transfigured into sound, then flesh, or love incarnate. In this primordial winter, the distance between fate and now seems little more than snow, little more than whispers made by the heart to the mad wind, until the wooing of what is us when everything is gone uproots the desert silence. E. Except in some confused human sense, no soul is ever wasted, ever lost. Each lonely wing of heart descending on the wing to rise again. And even those who only seem to live, whose souls to them are only memory now, can survive to live again, can find their bones again by blessing those they blasphemed with their lies and lack of light, can know the simple truth of sage, the discipline of being fair, can know a solitude so deep the night itself begins to blossom. F. For love and what we have lost, I write these little poems, these longings that, like distant rivers, cataract in sleep, these invisible roses that rise through inconclusive syllables. In this obscure school, fragrance is a philosophy. Each moment held only from me, a class where bees are masters. And this clear night, the only degree I ever wanted. Abandon everything you know and walk with me then, here, where the Inner Canyon Institute, founded the day the world began, teaches flowers how to live on rock. G. Give me the rugged heart, the sincere heart, that in the silence that always follows suffering still sings. Give me the heart that stands alone before the sea of false psychologies, forgiving those who broke the light because their need for power shadowed everything they thought. Give me the heart that fought for tenderness and failed, the heart that tumbled with the angels into muddy streets. Give me the heart that, when all the schools of brain are dead, when every shore is breaking, dances still. H. He fought for tenderness and failed. Yes, true enough. But what modern zen of sorrow compensates for this? What ants, festering on the sweet jelly of the simple dead, can satisfy his longing? What fantasy of cheap philosophy can churn old milk to butter? But in the failing arising, some integrity of grit, some definition of the soul, some final place where honey sits in the windows, where everything our lives have promised us comes in each blessed night to break the moon with us, to eat. In what sweet canyon does the deep heart sleep? How do these building blocks of sound concatenate to language? What spirit wings restore themselves each night, falling toward the sun? And you, who live in pure confusion, pretending to be sane, how do you devour the pulp of old divinity? How do you honor each hour, each solitary seed and subtle rose? What language lists itself inside of you until the dust begins to walk? The silence that surrounds us can't speak for us. There is grace inside each lonely rose. J. Just as the tendrils of a kiss can turn love green, language then can speak of rain to blossom silence, can lift a heart wandering in late afternoon to a high meadow, where the only prayer remaining is the one we stand on and begin to say. K. Kisses live in hearts, not lips. The ancient ships of longing know this. L. Love and what we have lost. What is a poem? The old brain suspended? A great river hides in the tree, and poetry must explain this. M. Moans of sometimes what is love gives birth to human beings. And then the hair shirt of the brain begins to beat us towards some distant peace, some ritual of intellect turned true. I remember those nights when the moon turned lugubrious and blue, nights when the matter I thought lovely revealed something that was not light, revealed to me how evil eats the gold in day. I remember those eyes, so devious and confident, seducing me towards some cadaver of deserted soul. But those who sit on old orange crates and sing until the song itself transfigures form and longing, and sing until the deity of ordinary day and night and tiny grains of rice and honey deliver us to simple art and sing until the marble calm of some old goddess gathers in our sleep. Yes, those can know the inexhaustible, the mystery of the magical heart. N. Now I lay me down to dance and sleep among the messages of saints and books on sacred sex and bees, and pray the Lord this soul to keep and wake before I die. In this slow water between now and day, I see the shore at the end of the bed. In these solitary sheets, I find old books that have not been opened for centuries, and many faces like loving fishes circle the bed. Who knows what dance this is? Whose feet these are I dance upon? Who knows what ancient seasons play their tune? What angels live in gentle dark? Oh, often all night long, sitting through a wake that somehow is for me, a crucible of sorts, where words like dust and soul have lost what little sense they had. I see the haze around the hour. I see the hair of night, the strands of love so tangled that only the insanity of sleep can lift us out of everything that rocks the house in this high tide of loneliness. P. Pray without ceasing. Pray through syllables of grief and longing. Pray through dislocated love. Pray through derelict divinity. Pray through the fatigue that comes with being in the midst of mouths filled with corpses. Pray through the ridiculous guns, the lack of bread. Pray through the drowned roses, the dry lips, the dying texts. Pray like the rivers the moon rides upon. Pray like infants raising their hand. Pray like the bees clustered together all winter, eating secret stores of honey. Q. Questions. What is Eden to the soul's longing, or Satan to the limbs of lust? What walks on 4 legs like the Sphinx and 5 legs in the bed of love? And where was God the day the world began? And where was sand before the sea that filled this desert left for other shores? What brain broke loose tonight and went to God? Who knows what stranger lurks in love? What saints unravel in the light? Who knows what woman waits, sincere as weather, in the heart room of this longing? R. Rough angels rise out of this snow and wind, buffeting me with love and low temperatures until the mind drifts away, leaving only this lumbering body, this snow packed in jeans and denim jacket, these rings of winter light around the heart. S. Surviving on loaves of dark hair, on long letters, on little seeds of Oriental rice, I earn each day the hard way, $1 for a candle, a little jar of honey. The way of longing so intense that even the moon shakes its rugged head. T. These intricate confessions I offer tie me to you, who perhaps have also known loss, have known some missing dignity of place, or something called career that long ago gave up on us and moved away, before the muse of longing turned so complicated inside of us that even in our sleep it walked. You. Under the delusion of love, I walked through years of stone. But little by little, pieces of me stopped walking, stopped being fooled by power posturing as passion, stopped being fooled by all of the sick psychologies our century succumbs to, stopped being fooled by all of the forgeries of the soul. I stopped. Little by little, love returned, and the full moon, that pale ball I had forgotten, again broke through the bedroom window. V. Victory was never mine in any venture, but things that have no venture to them can have victory in them. Bees and poetry and desert rescued me, and a few stout souls who love in some of us the heart that lingers in the dust of stars turned flesh. Yes, they remained with me. Devotion to a few things only, to a few persons only, purifies the heart until at last our life comes in and makes itself at home. W. When distant sound begins to tumble into language, and the lover lowers her dark voice to speak, what universe has made the journey into this? What heart then, so long ago, began this journey into sound? A secret that the pieces of air can sing, but not this simple mouth. Wake and let the wooing of the day begin. The day deeper than prayer, deeper than page, deeper than any sound we ever utter. Some tree refoliate with spring. A day that wakens us to subtle angels out of realms our metaphysics never reach. X. X marks the spot in this poem where I succumb to naked sentimentalism. I stop now and remember the names of some of those I love. I say them softly now. This is a litany I can live with, a litany that lifts me into grace. This is the grail I found when all was lost. These sacred canyons are the court whose homage is to life lived with intelligence and soul and grace, no matter what the weather. And this old moon, the only royal scepter. Why? You who are listening to this poem, pause and conjure now some of the names sacred for you, some of the little things that tie you to those names. And remember, eat your own beans out of your own bowl, take a broom to your broken brain, love obscure people and simple things, the smell of sage after a rain, the dignity of bees, the tenderness of rocks and trees. Then late some sacred night under the forgotten moon, let your soul break loose and gallop through the meadows of your longing. Let these wings lurking in the shadows lift you. Let the cup that is your heart fill with joy. Let the oceanic emptiness wash inside you until the blood itself comes clean again. Z. Zero of divinity plus longing adds up to this, a song that only sailors sing when lost at shore. But sing these songs we must, because it is our longing that delivers us to the star inside the dust.